Welcome to the Occult Rejects. Got a very, very special episode today. I'm very excited to get this guest on. But before we introduce the guest, we will introduce the other rejects that are joining us today. And we got my man, the Headless Giant. What is going on, sir? How are you?
How's it going? Happy Sunday, everybody. Just got off of my trialogues, which happens every Sunday in the morning. So definitely check that out. Me and Ricardo and Ethan go over a bunch of different topics that seem unrelated, but always end up finding their way back to each other.
That's
So I also have a Thursday show where I read your occult emails, and you can email them to me at the Headless Giant Podcast at gmail.com, and we will read them out on Thursday nights around 7:30. So check it out.
Oh, yeah. Definitely send that email in. And if you didn't check out his trialogue that he put out today, go check it out after this. Thank you very much, Headless. I appreciate you, sir. And we got my man, Jules. What is going on, brother?
Glad to have you. Thanks for having me again. What's up, guys? I'm Jules, host of the Gray Pill Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Gray Pilled Pod. I'm over on Patreon. We do a lot of stuff over there. Tonight, Sunday Chaos. It's that Sunday. We do it every other Sunday, so it's that time of the month. 9 o'clock on my Rumble channel. What's up, Fire Pixie? Every Tuesday, I produce for a show called Already Dead, 8:30 Central. Jose Galison and Austin Picard. I got a lot of I got 3 or 4 guests, I guess, coming on in the next few weeks.
Oh, okay.
Esoteric Eddie, Greyhorn Pagans, couple other ones coming on. So yeah, just stay tuned for those. But yeah, Nick, thanks for having me on again, man. Appreciate it. It's good seeing all you fellas here too. Vince, it's good meeting you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And we got my man, Ricardo. What is going on, sir? Actually, I had to thank Ricardo for this guest. So thank you, sir.
Oh, not at all. It's. I think that the message that Vincent has to tell us is quite important and is quite relevant to our times, especially in regard of this apparent conspiracy to hide this kind of information. So looking forward for his presentation today. So you can find me at Ricardo Calvary 1 at X, as it is on the screen. I would like to plug the Universe Unveiled podcast. It's a feminine podcast that I strongly recommend. It's a love of fresh air that on YouTube. So I hope you all enjoy it. And institutefornaturalphilosophy.org, where you can find our magazine that is free for watching or download, and also my books, The Resonant Earth, if you are interested in megalithic structures and their functionalities and how they could possibly work, and Stardust, that is about us humans and how we relate to one another.
So megalithic structures and their functionalities and how they could possibly.
Oh boy, somebody's repeating. All right, thank you very much, Ricardo. I appreciate that. And definitely, people, go check out his website and definitely check out Universe Unveiled. 2 awesome chicks, and they got great stuff going on. Definitely check out the show. And Tyrone, my man, last but not least, before the guest. How are you, sir?
What's up, everybody? Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Nick. Vincent, I'm ready to hear what you got to say, man. I'm actually very interested in this. I never heard about this until just a few days ago, and I looked into it, and I do have a couple questions. So yeah, I'm excited for this. Everything you can find on me is on my website, rebirthoftheword.com. And also my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, is on Amazon. And Ricardo's books, Resident Earth, Stardust, is also on Amazon. Do not forget about that. Yeah, promote your book as much as you can, Ricardo. Like I said, thanks again, Nick. Appreciate it.
Of course. No, thank you all for making it. I appreciate it. And finally, to the guest himself, we got Vincent Barrows coming. We got Vincent Barrows on. So please, sir, let us know what your deal is and where they can find any of your stuff that you want to promote.
So yeah, thanks for having me here. And I just finished up another blog talk about the a journey from China all the way to North America. And Lori had talked about this, about a trip that the Chinese took in 1430. And this was a part of a time when the Chinese were voyaging out with large treasure fleets, and they made it all the way to North Carolina in Ashland, North Carolina. They found this site, and they actually left a medallion there, and it was inscribed with their symbol of the Emperor of China's symbol was on this medallion found near Ashland, North Carolina. This is a real thing that was documented in the journals of the Chinese explorers that date back to 1430. Well, they found the actual medallion there, and they talked about the site, and it had a lot of details in their journal that matched the site, and the artifacts found at the site correlate to what was described in the Chinese journals. So things like in the journals, they said the heralding of the blowing of trumpets. Well, they found figurines of trumpets at the site. They found figurines of Mongol horsemen riding horses, figurines or sculptures of people riding horses that were adorned in Mongolian armor, and they looked just like the Mongolian horsemen riding the horses. They found an ancestor shrine, literally with every single clan of the Anishinaabe that was depicted in the journals and described as well. Some of them they used totems as their name of their clan or their symbol. Like they had one that was called the Catfish Clan. They had the Eel Clan. There was the Deer Clan. We'll go through examples. And I'll show you what these look like. But each of the clan symbols were depicted here, and they were found in the sculptures in North Carolina. And they also had this artifact that was called the Gahura churn, which is a very specific artifact that they used in Tibet and China to make Gahura, which is like a butter. They would churn the butter in a pottery bowl. And this Gahura churn, well, it was found in North Carolina. It's the only one found in this country that I'm aware of, but it was probably from this treasure fleet of the 1430s from the Chinese as well. So the Ashland, North Carolina treasure medallion and all these other figurines probably were placed there, or at least contributed to, from this Chinese voyage of 1430. And the real Gwale Origins had just talked with Lori about this. They had discussed a lot of these figurines and the story of the treasure fleet that went around the south coast of Africa, all the way up through the Atlantic, and then landed in Cahokia Mounds in Illinois. And then from that point, they went to Ashland, North Carolina, and they left this medallion in North Carolina that was found, and it's a real artifact. It matches exactly the journals of the Chinese. So
now you might have said this before, but and I was looking at the chat, just whatever, it might have escaped me. I didn't hear you say it. How is this? And this was found by who? Like this was discovered, yeah. And like has anybody important actually looked at it and been like, oh, this is from then?
Yeah. Can everybody see my screen?
Bam.
I'm going to try to share this PowerPoint slide, and I'll talk about who had found it, when it was found.
All right. Awesome.
So this is Mount Pisgah, North Carolina. It's the biggest artifact cache in the East Coast. There's issues with museums removing things after we asked questions. They hid the results of the testing we paid for and ordered. They shut down future testing on these. Also, there's evidence of the Soto multiracial village of Kofitacheke and Kanuga, meaning mixed race ancestor shrine, or a place of meeting place of many people. And so we have 3D scans and interesting figures to show. So what we're talking about is there's 4 mounds on the site. There's Smathers Mound, which is the official site number 31HW1. There's Mound 2, which is previously worked mound. Mound 3, which was Plot Mound, and Mound 5, which is Wells Mound. In 1879, this place was excavated by Ben Valentine. So he was a businessman. He was trying to make a museum. So he worked with the local residents, Mr. Osborne and Burnett, and these were people that lived there at Mount Pisgah. They found out about the site, and they started excavating the mountains, and they found 2,500 figurines. And then the Smithsonian came in and they said, oh, these are pot stone. They're unlike any other artifacts, so therefore they're all fake. And the Smithsonian claimed that they were either planted there to dupe the Valentines or to make them credulous of some lost mound building culture. And they sent another archaeologist, Emmert, to debunk the mound builder myth. And then they said that they found someone to make similar stone carvings. So therefore, they debunked all of these 2,500 figurines. And James Mooney in 1900 wrote The Necessity of Strict Silence on the Conduct and Describing the Site Legends where little people were legion. So in other words, he said they can't talk about this. Even in 1900, they were not allowed to talk about it. And the site basically was put away in a vault for 150 years. And no one did any research on it because it was debunked as a hoax or a plant. And so Garden Creek Archaeological Site, it was along the Pigeon River, and it had several phases of archaeological studies after that. But what happened was the crew came alongside in 1879, 1880, and they started digging the site. And this is a picture of the crew. In the middle is James Mooney and Van Valentine. And they dug up this site. It had petroglyphs along the side that were like Yuchi style petroglyphs. They dug the mound up and they found out it was a twin earth lodge, and it had human skeletons in the mound and lots of layers.
Not to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think. Did you think the picture changed? Because it hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't changed. That's what I was.
Yeah, I was going to say. Just let you
I'm
know.
sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I just don't want.
Let me see if I can go back and try.
I was like, he's kind of hovering the cursor over nothing, so I'm assuming he thinks it's something.
I thought it was just my eyes. I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, thanks for telling me. I'll try to get this to change here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see the team nor the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you may want to go up a couple slides. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty.
No worries. While you do that, I just want to emphasize 25,000 figurines. Okay. No, 2,500. Is that it?
Right, 2,500 figurines.
2,500 figurines. Right. It's unbelievable. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, found in the Americas. Right, Vince?
Right, the biggest archaeological cache on the East Coast. Okay, can everybody see that slide?
Yeah, now we can see it. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So that was the crew that was out there on site to dig this place up, and so they had around 30 people there on site, and they found these petroglyphs, and they're Yuchi petroglyphs. Wow. This is the mound itself. When they dug it up, this was a twin earth lodge, and there were skeletons found in the mound sitting on the side, and there was also wooden coffins. So wooden coffins were there, and they found skulls, human skulls as well. And this is one that was shown to Elizabeth. She did determine that this damage on the skull is post-mortem damage. So there's quite a lot of evidence that this skull was damaged and it was taken out of the grave or mound at some point and kicked around or damaged, and it looks like a bullet hole right in the side of the skull here would be about a 45 caliber to 65 caliber bullet hole, and it has a cracked fracture on the other side, which would be the exit wound or exit side of the bullet impact. These discolorations of the white colors are evidence of postmortem fractures. So the skull also had impacts on the back of the skull. Elizabeth said, though, that the skull, the person was over 40. It was an adult male, and she hypothesized that the cause of death was dental-related blood poisoning. in this skull, in this picture here, the lower jaw, you can see it was heavily damaged, and she said that would have been a horrific way to die, but she believes that this person initially died of blood poisoning, and then these other impacts and things that you're seeing are post-mortem impacts, and you can see there's even some scuffing and kicking, and the brows are damaged. These, she said, are post-mortem damages. So that's consistent with the DeSoto expedition. And when DeSoto came on site, he said his crew or his conquistadors took these skulls out of the burial and kicked them around and shot them and did horrible things to them. I mean, he was very disrespectful. And but that might be part of the reason this site has been kept secret for so long, is that it was, you know, it was part of the DeSoto conquistadors that lived there. And the time frame of this site is complex. It has things like mastodons, like you see here, mastodon figurines. And there were 4 of these found in this cache of 2,500 figurines. There were also things like banner stones. Well, banner stones are archaic type of artifacts from around 4,000 BC. So we're talking 6,000 years ago when these would have been made. And the figurines also included what looks like a pipe, group smoking a water pipe,
Yeah.
and in a circular crosshatch pattern, and on one and the other side it's a bifurcated semicircle. And the figurines are shaking hands or having avocations of peace. And this next one shows some of them were apparently male and female figurines, and inside of a bear. I mean, this is on one side, it shows these 2 holding hands, and then in a bear, the other side is a fully sculptured bear carving. And the majority of these figurines were, well, they're all different, but they had this cross-hatching or nested chevrons, and some people say that's the symbol for the bear or a ancestral pattern. It's a common art motif that was used, and you see a lot of them show like humans being eaten by bears. And the bear was one of the clans. As we know, the bear clan was an important Anishinaabe clan. There were others like this that showed the puma or cat, and people holding pottery on their heads like this, carrying pottery like a water bowl. This one looks like a lizard holding a staff, almost a kimono dragon lizard. And the lizard effigy was, I mean, the lizard was a totem. The puma was a totem.
That looks like the Moon-eyed people, man. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, that's right. The Moon-eyed people.
Yeah, the one in the middle looks like the Moon-eyed people. Like almost identical.
Was that the same as the ant people?
That's from the Cherokee legends.
Right. The Cherokee legends talk about the Moon-eyed people in great detail. And a lot of these, you'll see that type of face, Moon-eyed, this depiction. And legends are very prolific about the Moon-eyed people in the Cherokees and in this area. And then there's also things like these crosshatched vessels and teacups. There were hundreds of these. I mean, they're just so prolific, and they're all very finely crafted. Every one of these figurines has charcoal or smell of smoke on the surface of it, like it had been in a fire. And well, like I mentioned, the Smithsonian, as soon as they heard about this site, they sent this guy down to debunk the site, and they called these bogus. And this article from 1890 declared these are bogus articles, and it's a bird figurine. And there were others like pipe with the hands cut off and the arms cut off, pipe figurines, and they just declared them all hoaxes or bogus. And this is one of the things that it's like, well, why would someone fake that or make a bogus pipe and a bogus bird. Well, it turns out that they're not bogus, and these have been authenticated. Now we've used thermoluminescence and authenticated these. The pottery bowls and the figurines we had 2 positively authenticated as pottery, and originally they were thought to have all been made of stone, so thermoluminescence would not have been a viable option. But the pottery ones in particular, we selected
Vincent.
8 of
Vincent.
these. Yes.
Can I ask for a minute? Do you know who the scientists were involved in declaring those bogus?
Yes, it was Charles Rao and James Emmert. Initially, Charles Rao in 1883 wrote an article, and he said these are fakes because there's nothing else like it. And he said they're either carved by someone who was early historic period, or they had been fakes, but he didn't know who carved them and didn't study them. He just kind of put them in the drawer, and they were not researched at all since then. And
it would be interesting to see if somebody could FOIA something with their names on it back then, to see if there are any internal memos going back and forth about how they should treat the site. Yeah,
I have done that. I have all their internal correspondence and everything. And in fact, what they did was they sent James Emmert to the site to debunk these, and he paid somebody to fabricate new ones. He paid them about $30 at the time, which is a lot, but he said he paid them, and then they took these back to the Smithsonian and said, well, now we know we can pay someone to make them, so therefore all the other ones are fake too. And it just was not studied after that. And well, now we know that they're not fake because they've been authenticated. And when he said that they were stone, well, it turned out that there's some made of pottery as well. And there's a lot of different stones that the others are made of. There's sandstone. Some are made of steatite and mica schist. And there's some that look like greenstone even. There's granite. So they're made of a lot of different materials from a lot of different areas. And the pottery ones in particular, now we know that they've been authenticated by Oxford Authentication. We did this study this year, and 2 of them came back positive. And it said that they were dated to less than 100 years ago in fire, in being burnt in a fire. So there's evidence that this is a post-production fire. And when they were excavated, it looked like they had all been in a building that burnt down. And they found out that, this is a quote. When they found them, they said, many of these have been burned, and we should like to know if they were in a particular area, that the place that had the burning of the objects that were found. We know that sometime there was a general burning, and even the best things were put together for some reason and fire applied. So this is a quote from 1880 in August 20th, when Ben Valentine found these, and he said, I cannot help thinking that this was the case with all the first images, and whether that some of them have been in soapstone or otherwise, the yellow and black earth that they had been made from came from the wall around the building. And he said that he didn't see any sign of a hearth there, and that the stones were just laid there and burned. So this was a building, and it was burnt down. And we know now DeSoto burnt the building down in 1540. And so there's good evidence that these had actually been burnt down at that time in 1540. And the thermoluminescence is something that has a limited accuracy when it gets to those small time frames. So this fire, being a post-production fire in 1540, just proves that they're authentic, and that they were burnt after they had been put there in the mound. And also subsequently, the mound was carbon dated, and the carbon from that fire was determined to be from 430 years ago during the DeSoto expedition. Would have been the time frame that the fire was, the carbon was found to be from.
I'm not sure if you said, Vincent, but when they said 100 years, then you have another email or communication saying that the 100 years could also be 1,000 years.
Right. That's right. The Virginia conservator said, well, if 100 years on thermoluminescence, it could be to the nearest 1,000 years, because when it's looking at the nearest 1,000 years to determine the date on thermoluminescence, according to the Virginia conservator. So there's a good chance that it's not saying that these were fired after they were found, but that
Sure.
It just confirms that it was fired within the last 1,000 years.
And they focus only on the 100 years. That's the funny part. They have the Soto, but they just focus on the 100 years because it's false.
Right. Yeah, the story behind that was interesting too. We had waited over 2 months for getting these results back. We paid for the results within 3 to 4 weeks. So they didn't provide the results. They kicked it around and they wouldn't communicate with us. And then finally they sent us this report on only 2 of the 10 figurines that we had paid for, saying that they were less than 100 years old on the thermoluminescence. And then, so after asking questions, they said, we'll give you a refund, and it could be 1,000 years old. It's the same as saying it's less than 100. And then after that, they said no more testing will be provided or permitted. And so they wouldn't allow any further testing. Then subsequently to that, we found out that in fact, some of these figurines are in the Smithsonian as well. So this site has been split up between the Smithsonian, the Valentine Museum, and the University of North Carolina. The ones at the Smithsonian you see here on the screen, they didn't even admit that they had them in their collection. After I'd asked them literally a dozen times, where are these artifacts? I want to research them. They wouldn't admit they're in their collection. And then finally they did, about a month ago, admit that these are in their collection. And they're figurines that are like some of the best of the examples of the cache from Mount Pisgah. Like, this is the biggest Great Bear cache figurine in existence. And so it has this cross-hatching and engraved lines on it. And it's like it's touching this crosshatched object. And at first I thought it could be a altar, but it's possible that what they're doing is depicting a drum, like a bear playing a drum. And the crosshatching is shown that it's a sacred symbol, like a spirit
Imbued.
Spirit imbued, right?
And there's also the interesting fact that you found out that there was communication before they replied to you to an individual and the Smithsonian, right? That they tried to suppress all of that information.
Yes, that's right. The Valentine Museum, which had allowed us to do this testing, said, well, we spoke to a scientist who told us to say no further testing would be allowed, and that they've all been, and they said even material testing would not be permitted because they've all been scientifically reviewed by the scientist. And basically they said, no, we can't do any more testing. We're not going to allow you to do anything else. And after that, there's no more communication was received from them.
Yeah, because there was only 2,390 pieces to be tested. So
right. And all these figurines at the Smithsonian, they didn't know, they wouldn't let us see. And like this one in particular, see, it's shown, Emmert wrote his name on it, and that was the archaeologist at the time. And Ben Valentine in 1880 wrote, I hope that you will continue to save the objects that have markings on them. So it looks like as if these people had kept their accounts on the stones with their cross marks and other figures. As they say, Indians cut notches on the trees to be a guide for the objects to tell them the news left for the tribe by their runners. So some of these, like this one, have what looks like written language on it. And in comparison with the Cherokee script, well, this one actually translates. And these letters are Cherokee script, and it's the word for the immortals per James Mooney book. And these words are Ni, Nev. The letters are actually Cherokee on these, and they translate to the immortals per James Mooney book, or those who do not die and those who will live forever.
So, Vincent, do you keep track of how many different narratives this cache completely destroys?
I mean, this would rewrite the entire history of the country, because it proves that there was Atlantic crossings, there's sub-Saharan African animals in this cache, there's time periods represented from the Ice Age in this cache. I mean, it's literally it's proof of Chinese voyages as well. It's a ancestor shrine accumulating thousands of years of figurines into a single location, and it shows, like we looked at the banner stones. I mean, this goes back into the Archaic and even the Mastodons into the Ice Age, all the way up to Cherokee script in the 1800s. And people say that Cherokees didn't learn script until 1830 and that it was invented then. Well, this was excavated and it has Cherokee script on it. So it proves that, in fact, they were writing this. And if it was from the 1540s, then that proves that the Cherokees had written language in 1540. So it destroys the whole narrative that they've been telling us, that Indians had no written language, that they had no intercontinental travel, that there's no African commerce going on in between the natives in Africa or even China. I mean, this cache would destroy and rewrite the entire history of this country.
And you have the banner stone, and that banner stone has a mark. And if you follow the angle that was represented in the image, it shows a precise alignment, right, Vincent?
That's right. The banner stone that I showed earlier, it has the angle for the minimum lunar declination at midwinter, and it's called the lunar standstill. So this angle was incised on it and inscribed on the banner stone, and it's an angle of the moon when it gets to the minimum lunar declination at midwinter. So it's called a lunar standstill. Archaeoastronomy. In archaeoastronomy, that's an important angle, and it shows that they use this moon-shaped stone to record the history and the angle of the moon at different times of the year. And this is something that would have taken 18 years to determine that angle, because it only happens once every 18 years when the moon reaches the minimum lunar declination at midwinter.
So that alone is representative of culture. So,
right. The 18 years is so important. That's the full lunar cycle. That's the whole time it takes to go through all of its motions in the sky and come back to the same point over again.
Right.
And for those that don't know, these banner stones would be placed on a pole. So it has a hole in the middle, right, Vincent?
Right. It has a hole in the middle, and it's it would either be placed on a pole, and these are actually shown on the like the Welsh butterfly. They showed how they were used on a staff, and they would look at the angle and determine the time of year, and the angle of the moon was important, and so they actually incised it with this angle.
Well, my whole point is this is not primitive people, as we have been told. That's
right.
My whole point.
Right, absolutely. These are,
and that's the oldest artifact of the stash, right?
Well, it's archaic. It's an archaic time frame. I mean, if the elephants are Ice Age, then they might be older, or the mastodons. I mean, those figurines that look like mastodons or elephants, they could be older, but it's hard to say. And archaic banner stones are, a known artifact from the archaic, so that's one of the oldest ones for sure.
Yeah, what I mean is for them, as they believe, so that as they classify the site, to them the banner stone would be the oldest, because the other ones are all fakes, right? So, but they are also neglecting the banner stone and itself, when we know it's a highly representative artifact of indicative of culture and long years of learning.
Right. it's a culture, and they would have had to have like an indigenous education to be able to know that, like to
I have a
study
theory.
it, take a record of it.
I have a theory. What if this site was actually sort of like a Native American museum, pre-Columbian style? So it's got all of these different influences from around the world that show the importance of each one of these symbols.
I was going to say, I've seen a lot of reoccurring symbols that I've seen in all these other ancient cultures and civilizations, even some that are like kind of remote. So I don't know, it's a common theme that you see. Yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the museum and having their own museum, I mean, it's a great comparison there. And in fact, we have journals from DeSoto, and we have the journal from the 1430s of the Chinese visiting the site, and they saw it. And so they described these things that they saw. And the way they described it was an ancestor shrine. And each of these figurines were like self-portraits of the chiefs. Literally, they represented how the chiefs were named. And so each one having its clan symbol would be the carving of the bear or the carving of the lynx, whatever their clan was. They carved that, and it represented them as a person. And there were 3 shelves full of these that were reported in the DeSoto Chronicles. 3 shelves around the walls of the room.
These are names of the kings?
Yeah, these are the
so
names.
This is kind of like a king's list in some way.
Yes.
Like an ancient king's list. That's cool, man.
And it was
2,500.
The Soto Chronicles talked about these in great detail, and this would have been like DeSoto's target. I mean, he was going after their.
I was just going to ask that. That was a target,
right? It was the first target DeSoto went after, and I mean, he destroyed it. He burnt the place down, and these figurines were like their royal lineage and their royal sepulture or clan. They called it an ancestor shrine, and he burnt the place down. Literally, he talks about it in his journal. He shot the walls of this building and the skulls with his gun and burnt the place down and left it there in ashes and cinders. And it's clearly documented in his DeSoto Chronicles. The story.
It wasn't the first time, right, Vincent? Because apparently this site has been many times destroyed and rebuilt over, which is also interesting.
Right. And some of the carbon dates found were from 2000 BC and 2,500 years ago. So it looks like this had been burnt down many times. And the radiocarbon dates show the same type of thing, that this was thoroughly mixed. There were many layers of civilization. They built buildings on top of buildings.
We have to think, why was this place constantly rebuilt and constantly destroyed every time something new come into the scene? So it was a hub of power, or a symbol of power, or a symbol of culture that had to be destroyed over and over again for someone to come and try and restart that to their own purpose.
Right, and like you showed, it's near the ley lines to Mount Pisgah. It's also this shows what the excavations look like, and there were 8 buildings built on top of each other. Each one has a separate building structure or footprint. So every time they built a building, and it was burnt, and then they built another one at the same spot. So, and the place was thoroughly mixed. So some of the layers on top were older than the layers on the bottom. They must have reused earth that was earlier and put it on the bottom, and then reuse the old earth on top, and just continuously rework this place. And so the 2,500 figurines have, they've been split between the Valentine Museum, the Smithsonian, and the University of North Carolina. And the ones at the University of North Carolina were claimed by a NAGPRA claim in 1999. NAGPRA claimed them and got 700 of these figurines and burial remains, and the others at the at the Valentine Museum. It's in Richmond, Virginia. Well, they had these on display at the Valentine Museum up till 2009, and then they took them off display, and now they're all in a storage locker. So they haven't been on display.
And I just want to verify you used the word NAGPRA, right?
Yes.
Okay.
NAGPRA literally did a claim for these artifacts, and they claimed all the ones from the site that were at the University of North Carolina.
Are those any different from the others that we have seen?
They're the same. I mean, they're each one is from the site, and they're figurines, sculptural figurines, and I have some 3D images I can show to kind of give an idea of what they look like.
Yeah, bring those up because maybe some people don't know what NAGPRA is. So NAGPRA is Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which basically is just it's just a way for
government bureaucracy
and hiding history.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a NAGPRA. I mean, it's like you said, Native American Grave Protection and Repatriation Act. They were formed to try to stop people from excavating sites and protect the history. But this site was dug up way back in 1879 to 1880. So the ones that were taken and claimed, the Eastern Band of Cherokee, claimed that these were part of their ancestry. But we know that
are they shown by them or not? Can we see them?
They're not shown by them anymore. Okay. And
I mean by those that claim them.
No, as far as I know, they're not displayed or shown.
Okay.
But can you see that? That's the banner stone, and it has this hole in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And this is that line I'm telling you about, that line that's engraved at the angle of the minimum lunar declination at midwinter. And so it even has useware on it. So this is, a truly great example of a banner stone. This would be something they couldn't fake. I mean, there's no way to fake something like that. And so I have 3D images of these to show. You can look at it from all sides.
Oh, that's crazy.
And for those who don't know, I didn't know either. There are a lot of banner stones, right?
Yeah.
But because it's a representation of high culture, they hide them because it shows that the indigenous people have knowledge of astronomy, and therefore they're just
Ricardo,
dismissed.
It's got to be something much deeper, because we're looking at an ominous continuity that goes back into pre-Columbian history with trying to destroy this place and remake something over it over and over again past Columbian history, back to 1500s. And then from the 1500s, it's basically the same regime all the way up into NAGPRA. There is something very strange about this place, and it goes back too far into history to not be noticed,
Well, I can tell you that the points of this site to me is that it's a very old site, much older than the Soto. It has many times been destroyed, most of it by fire, curiously. It has a conglomerate of cultures. It has piece representations in periods that are documented as periods of war. So they also don't understand that part. And the last point that I have here, I can make later, because if Nick, if you remember the researcher we had about the Gunung Padang, do you remember that? He showed an image, a petroglyph on a rock that looks like a ghost, and I've been looking for where I've seen that, and I've seen that in Vincent's slideshow. Because that image that Vincent showed us, for those that saw that episode, is exactly the same as the one he showed in Asia. That representation on the rock, right? So I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yeah, it looked like almost like a ghost and almost alien. Like,
Yeah, so it's what we find here on Vincent's slideshow, and I looked for it and I couldn't remember what I've seen it, and it had been on Vincent's slideshow.
yeah, Danny Hillman did show that. That was kind of weird. Oh, Vincent, did you have something else you wanted to pull up?
I'm trying to pull up this this slideshow called Dotamag, and Dotamag is, well, these are the ancestors figurines of the Anishinaabe, and it turns out there's a strong correlation, or a 1-to-1 correlation, that these figurines from the site are clan symbols. And so I went through and compared it with the clan symbols. So there's bear figurines, birds, wolves, bison, turtle, aquatic animals like fish, alligators. There's squirrels, lynx and jaguars, spider, daddy long legs. That's even a clan symbol, and it's a figurine. There's snake figurines. These others are like white rhino, capybara. There's alligator, monkey or ape figurines. There's camel. These are the kind of things that make me think they had to have gotten these camel figurines from Asia or Africa, where camels live. I mean, I don't know when they last lived in North Carolina, but things like the thunderbird.
Since the Ice Age, they are supposedly extinct since the Younger Dryas. There were several species of camels in North America, but
exactly. They had pachyderms. They had all sorts of stuff in North America way before that Ice Age. So this could go back a long time.
Yeah. Either it goes back or it's from other cultures.
And things. So I'm going to show pictures of these that correlate with the totems, like the elk. Okay. Well, the first is they have elk or caribou, and these are all just incredibly made figurines. They're tabular, like tablets, and they have this crosshatch engravings on all sides of them. And this one here, like a stag or a deer. And there's the mole. There's mole figurines. There's different things like that are hard to identify, whether it's a buffalo or a bison. These look a lot like bison figure or buffalo figurines. They often have this zigzag pattern on the side and carefully crosshatched. And you can see these were in a fire. I mean, the surfaces are covered with soot from a fire. They had all been burned heavily.
Interesting. Yeah, I noticed that one that was a serpent looked very similar to the Babylonian dragon that you see pictured with Marduk. And so, do you know if muted myself, whoever these people were, if they had some kind of system, like some kind of religious system, or I don't know, some form of God that they worship, that they tried to portray in their art?
Yeah, and I mean, I think animism was what we're seeing here, like when they represent themselves as that animal, and that was their spirit animal. And so by carving this animal, they were carving themselves, and they were saying, like, I am that, and that is me, and they were identifying that as their name. And this is a custom that the Anishinaabe did, even like pictographic symbols from birch bark scrolls. The marten was one that they had depicted here in 3D, and things like the porcupine. Well, the porcupine is very clearly depicted here, and it's one of the best examples. It shows the spikes of the porcupine on the back and even these horizontal lines. Well, the Chinese made similar things like that in 600 AD. So they had porcupine figurines at the Smithsonian that looked almost identical to this, and they were dated 600 AD.
And you had that rhinoceros look-like figurine just a few slides.
Yeah, the rhinoceros.
So
yeah, this one it looks. It has
that's cool.
Rhino. It's got a single horn on the front of its face, just like a rhino. It was identified as a rhino when they first found it.
And I discussed this with Vincent, because either they actually saw these animals, they were from the area where this was made, or someone came from somewhere and described to the person doing these figurines how it looks like. So that's why it's not exactly as it is, because it's someone describing what the animal looks like on his land, or what he saw when he went to that land, and someone else is making the figurine.
Right. Like they were hearing it like a telephone line,
Exactly.
It was something that they had a visual image of, but they heard it from somebody else. So they may have been saying, well, that was my totem. I want you to carve me this. So they were describing it to the best of their ability. And things like the rabbit. Well, I mean, the rabbit clan is a real Anishinaabe clan, and they had rabbit figurines that looked like a stele. There were other ones like this jackrabbit and the mink figurines. There were foxes and even skunks. And skunk is a clan figurine as well. But these are very well carved and created. And the squirrel figurine, the squirrel clan correlate. There were fishes, many aquatic animals, and snakes.
They carved the mouth of the fish. Amazing.
Yeah, like they was smiling. It was almost like a human-like smile on it. And a lot of them had the human features on the faces of these figurines.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems a lot like a lot of these esoteric kind of, ancient drawings and ancient things, where you see the animals as the human attributes and all that. These people saw themselves or something about themselves in these animals. So I think there's something spiritual going on there.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Jules, if you think about it, shamanism is the high priest of animism. So
Right.
this is a shamanistic site through and through, and that's why they've got these human-like faces. Is they're putting their spirit into these things.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
Like this turtle, I mean, it looks like he's got a human face is smiling on it. And so it was really, they were depicting themselves as the smiling turtle.
He was a happy guy.
Yeah. And so it ties right into the animism and shamanism. Some of these have turtles on one side, alligators on the other. They're all different and unique.
It's an alligator or a gecko?
Oh, it could be a gecko.
I was going to say, yeah. Looks more like a little lizard.
And the lizard clan was another clan symbol. Some of them are like this. They're stela with human figurines holding up what looks like a snake. And this one is two bears climbing up an obelisk. It looks like an obelisk in the center. There's other ones of snake figurines and what looks like a fox or some kind of an animal. With all these are different. I mean, they were completely unique, each one, but they correlated well with the totems.
Is that a headdress?
Yeah, this one looks like a headdress, like it's wearing a mohawk headdress or a kind of a feathered headdress. And there's some that have snakes on them. On one side, it'll have a snake and serpent. There were actually some that had this crisscrossing lines. This one's kind of hard to see, but these had engraved lines on all sides. And this one looks almost like a turtle, but it has a tail. And you can see how it's crosshatched as well. There were otter figurines. This is one that's about 2 feet tall. I mean, it's giant sculpture. And it's kneeling, like these otters are touching a crosshatched drum or a altar and kneeling and touching their mouth with one paw, and then the other paw is touching this altar.
Highly symbolic. Highly symbolic.
That's like maybe the sign of silence or something.
And the third otter peers in between the other two. So these are really great works of art as well. I mean, they're just incredible to see the detail. And it's hard to show the detail because these are crosshatched all over on all sides. And sometimes the lines are just barely visible because they've eroded away or been burned from the fire. And here's one that's the merman. Well, the merman is a clean as well. And this looks like a man putting his arm around his brother, and then this tail here with a fish-like tail. Well, the merman is another clan of the Anishinaabe. So that's pretty unusual to see. And this one looks like it has a beaver tail and a fox head on it and an alligator body.
Composite creatures.
Yeah, they clearly remind me of some paintings done by some actual shamans that are more or less contemporaneous. The images are very, very, very similar,
Right.
to this.
These are
They are.
astral projections. These
Yeah, I
are
was gonna
images that
say.
they're getting from the deep unconscious.
Maybe
Right.
you see these when you take ayahuasca or something.
Like this one being a crab, like it has claws, and like a crawfish or crab eyeballs, and these dotted lines. I mean, you say like astral projections. Well, I mean, this dotted type of depiction was on many of these figurines as well. And like the porcupine, well, one of the porcupine quills or porcupine figurines look like this as well. So this could be a symbol of a porcupine quilled embroidery on a cloak, that the clean of the crab is wearing a cloak. It's hard to say, but it's just crab is one of the totems of the Anishinaabe as well. And the bears were the most common. I mean, they had almost 100 of these bear carvings. Oftentimes there are two bears facing each other, kissing or embracing. And you see there are so many of them like this. Some of them had been damaged. Like this one has part of the arm broken off and just damaged figurines. And then some of them, see that this is about a foot tall. I mean, it's these two bear figurines. And they even engraved the fur pattern on these.
The astrological significance for the bear figurine should be noted as well. This is all about the North Pole. And even in North American native beliefs, the bear is indicative of North Pole symbolism as well. And you got that crossover between the pole, the stone that you put on the what was it called? The signal stone that you put on top of the pole. That's astronomical
Banner
symbol.
stone.
Banner stone. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of an astrological overlay.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this building where they were found, like I mentioned, it was twin earth lodges. Well, they were aligned north and south, precisely with the north compass north. So they knew about the directions. They built this building in alignment with the north magnetic north arrow.
Magnetic north.
Right, magnetic north.
So they had to know magnetism and have a compass.
Yes. And this one looks like a bear holding a skull, almost like you can see almost the nose is empty from where the skull would be of a human head. And some of them were like lynx. Well, the lynx was another clan, and this looks like a spotted leopard or a jaguar, possibly.
Highly decorated. Look at that. Impressive.
And the lynx clan is an important clan of the Anishinaabe as well. And these lines seem to emanate from the heart. And on both of these, it has like branching lines from a cat or a lynx figurine. And a lot of the text and literature about the lynx clan is they say they're the bloodline of the heart, or the heart clan. Basically, this has lines emanating from the heart to represent that clan symbol. There's the wolf clan as well. Wolf figurines. I mean, this is one of the original pictures from Valentine's book. In the wolf and coyote figurines. There's some that look like crane two cranes facing each other and an alligator down below it. And one interpretation of these lines, it could be the sound of thunder, like booming across the sky. So I think they were using artistic references.
Or the water line. They could also mean the water line.
Yeah, it could be. And this, like a thunderbird or angel almost.
Yeah, that looks like a depiction of some kind of sky god or, sky people, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tyrone?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny. I'm actually right now on my Amazon because he was bringing up some points that I was looking up, and so I'm decided to order this book, the Oxford Handbook of American Indian History, and maybe I can get some more of my answer. We can talk about that later. But yeah, the Native Americans do talk about sky people a lot. I mean, all the time. So I'm just more interested into knowing, because I like Oxford so much. I really believe that they try to stay as true to the information as possible. They're not biased, and they don't try to exaggerate or have a narrative. They just tell you everything. They even tell you that they'll contradict themselves by saying something like, "We'll tell you this story, and then the next chapter, it will tell you a whole different story." So I'm looking at this book. So yeah, this is interesting.
And some of them, like the crane, the crane symbol here and the human figure on the other side, that was a clan. And the forked tree was a clan. A lot of these figurines showed trees that were branching. And Shaman just asked, is that a banner stone? Well, there were banner stones in this collection, but that wasn't an example of one. So I'll go back and show that one. But the forked branches were on a lot of these figurines, like this one with branching fork-like branches. Well, that's a clan as well. There were herons and hawks as well, and like this eagle or golden eagle figurine and a sparrowhawk. I mean, they're really well created.
So this is the hoax that was done for thousands of years for different people and different cultures, or representative of different cultures. It's the longest whole fakery of figurines we known in history. It's going at least for 5,000 years, faking images.
Right. That's what the Smithsonian would like you to believe from the time of Rao, even up until I showed them this presentation. He said, well, these could have been planted there. And so we think they still were clinging to Rao's opinion, even after I showed the authentication paperwork.
What?
Yeah, it was horsey wagons after horse wagon, putting the 2,500 figurines in there just to mix us up.
Yeah,
I gotta know what are the native stories about this place? It has to have a lot of lore and native oral histories, at least a little bit,
Well, this is the Cherokee homeland, and I was just going to show an example of, like, they have horseback riding, but this pretty much really confirmed it for me, because in 1915, George High he came down there and he excavated an apple tree on the mound, and underneath the apple tree, he found 2 layers of mica, a sheet of red clay. Underneath that was a sheet of white clay, and then a sheet of yellow clay. Well, the clan symbols for the Cherokee are red paint, white, and yellow paint. And below that, he found,
I think that's also the 4 alchemical colors too.
Yeah, he found a pit that was charcoal and
you're right,
burned bones, and in that pit there were 2 shark's teeth, and then there was also a 30-pound chert nodule. And Hyde in 1915 pretty much confirmed that this site is in fact an ancestor shrine. This was after the artifacts were all found, and the head of the National Science Foundation found this. So I mean, it pretty much just proves that there's no way that this could be fake.
And shark teeth, do tell us how far is the site from the ocean?
And it's hundreds of miles from the ocean. I mean, we're talking about Western North Carolina.
Okay.
So these correlate well to the shark totem, and I mean the shark totem was widespread as well, all the way to Illinois. They had shark's tooth clubs, and the shark's tooth was a clan symbol, and it was used in clubs that were embedded with shark's teeth as a weapon. So they would embed these shark's teeth in a maplewood club, and there was one found in Cahokia Mounds in Illinois.
So that alone shows us that the trade was vast, and this site had influences or connections to points very distant, even if only in America.
Well,
Right.
the Aztecs had that as a common weapon as well. They had that same style club, the shark's teeth.
That looks like
Yeah.
an onk.
This one,
Yeah.
I think it could be a bee or an onk. I don't know. It's a Yuchi and Wale clan symbol. Say the bee is one of their clans.
Oh, the bee. Oh, I see it now.
What
And-
Shaman just put it on screen is also relevant. If we read it.
Things like the Pelican clan were depicted. The Owl clan. Owl was a bringer of death. It was really something that would be feared, and there were owl effigies as well.
A harbinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
The goose, I guess white goose, or a totem clan symbol for. This one has two what look like robins or birds, possibly phoenix, facing the same direction. There's even figurines like this that some sort of a bird in steatite, possibly a duck. There were geese figurines, and even figurines like grouses and turkeys. There's partridges and turkeys depicted. I mean, it was extensive.
The guy that was faking this was very well traveled.
Right.
I could imagine
yeah,
spending
this,
that much time on all that to fake. Like,
yeah,
you
if this
know?
was a fake, I mean, just to imagine the time it would have taken to make this and why. I mean, these objects weren't sold. They were literally put in a museum. And the Osborne residents didn't take any money for them. They're the ones that helped dig this up. The Mount Pisgah relics, Mrs. Osborne said, "I won't accept any money for these. If you're going to give me money, I'll donate it to the church." When she found, and her husband found these and helped them dig these up. So it wasn't like a financial fraud scheme. These were in fact, part of a real site, and it has been studied archaeologically for, the next 150 years.
Well, I've seen in the last days a conversation with a lady from a museum, and she was very clear, although she was very open, but she was very clear that anything that has not been dug up by proper archaeologists during the years that they consider archaeology was a functional science, to them everything is considered as fake, because they considered if it is undisturbed soiled or disturbed soiled. In this case, the soil was more than disturbed because the Soto left a mess in there, and it was done not by accredited archaeologists or within the dates that they consider archaeology as a functional science. So I think that's the main reason why they try to put this aside, and that's their argument, to keep this as fakes and not to integrate them into a proper contextual research.
Yeah, that's a good point. And in archaeology, they say today they don't study treasure, or like you mentioned, if it's outside of the dates of after 1900 or even up to, current time. They won't study what was dug up in the 1800s. So it's not in their study regime, or they're just not willing to look at it. And archaeology, I mean, the fact that it was basically drawered back in 1880 by the Smithsonian, that's their narrative. They look at it as a data point. Like they don't even research it or study it at all. And but in fact, it's one of the most important sites in this country. And the correlation with the Soto Chronicles, and even before that, the 1430 expedition of the Chinese to the site, really describing what they found there as an ancestor shrine. And these are actually totems, or the tribal totems. It correlates well with those narratives.
Exactly.
And today, I mean, the goal is, though there's 2,500 of these originally. Well, they wouldn't admit, the Smithsonian wouldn't admit that these were in their collection. And you might have seen recently, they've been auditing the Smithsonian. This audit just started like after I asked these questions about the collection. 1 week after that, they were audited, and now they're being I think this might be why, because for so long the Smithsonian has just covered this stuff up, and they have these treasures from the past that they've drawered for so long.
My man,
Yeah, dude, they're pretty cooked. I'd say they're pretty compromised. They're the ones that have hidden all the giant bones, and say that dinosaurs are real, which we know that that's not true, but and much more. But the Smithsonian is more like a government institution, I'm pretty sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
We see this constant pattern with the Trump administration, where it seems like he creates a crisis to start running backup for the systems that are falling through. And it seems like that's what he's doing now with the Smithsonian. They can't really hide that they've been destroying history as badly as they have for the past 100 years. So they're providing a backup or some sort of a outlet for them to try and move this stuff around and get it out off their books. Because, it's very vulnerable as an institution. They've been lying about this shit forever. It's disgusting.
That's right. And when Valentine brought this stuff to the museum, he said, he was just asking for their opinion. And then he went to the British archaeology, the head of the British archaeologists, and they said this stuff is real. In Britain, they wrote an article about it, and they said, no, it's all authentic, it's real. And then the Smithsonian, drawered it. And I think that the Smithsonian Rao was upset that British archaeologists said this stuff is real. So that's also what contributed to the drawer effect, and they wanted it to not be seen again.
Sure. And in regards to what Headless said, I don't think the problems of the Smithsonian were caused by government. They're caused by the people that are ahead of the Smithsonian and the ideas that they defend, right? What they think is proper and not proper. It's like Zahiro was, for instance, in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. It's not a matter of what the government, because the government knows nothing about Egyptology, right? It's the people that are ahead and defending the narratives and creating a cultural line for the country and its history that has to maintain that line instead of keeping updating it with new findings, right? So I don't think that this auditing to the Smithsonian would cause many advances in what is hidden there, because the problem is the persons that are on top of the Smithsonian and they are not being removed. So, and regards to what Jules, I didn't understand what you said about dinosaurs not being real, but my point wasn't that. Is that the giant bones, most of them were destroyed.
Just trying to make a joke.
Were destroyed. the giant bones, the Smithsonian destroyed most of them. So if they
Right.
have someone on their vaults, I'm not sure, because they destroyed most of them. They actively collected them to destroy those evidences.
Right.
And in this case, it's so lucky that these figurines are not destroyed, or because Vincent, when he went there, they still show it. You can still handle them and see them. You just cannot test them anymore or do anything to them. Just you only can look at them.
Right. And I'm showing my screen now to kind of show the location of the site. So Garden Creek Archaeological Site. You see it's in western North Carolina. And so the distance between, the ocean and the site is pretty extensive. And the fact that this has connections with Cahokia, that Cahokia Mounds also had all that cross-hatching on their artifacts as well. And this was, the Cherokee homeland. The idea that the natives had a museum is really interesting. Like they had a clan, basically a clan symbol museum or an ancestor shrine of showing their chief's history, and each one represented that history. Well, we know Asheville is nearby here, and the Cherokee villages were mostly burnt down in around 1750. So when the Europeans arrived and then created the United States, by 1776, the natives were kicked out, and then in 1830, the Trail of Tears happened. So, I mean, a lot of warring was going on throughout that time that, shows just how populated the area was. I mean, the Cherokee lived all through this area, and the Trail of Tears was in 1830 when they were forced out all the way to Oklahoma. But they some stayed behind and still have land there today.
Isn't it funny that Asheville is still a spiritual hub for a bunch of hippies out in western North Carolina?
Yeah,
it still has that kind of shamanistic feel to it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's also very interesting to me that while all historians that speak about this and this time period, they all refer to all of the indigenous peoples were at war with one another. They were fighting apparently for this piece of land or for control of the territory. And what we found here is all these people seated around each other, holding hands or smoking from the same pipe in a clear representations of peace, right? That's one of the things that they also used to reject the site.
It made them even angrier. The more peaceful they were, the angrier they got.
They got, yes.
So one of the possibilities in future studies, I mean, going to the site would be great to look at it and get drone footage. But this site was heavily studied. And I mean, a lot of it was excavated from 1960 all the way up through 1983. And then again, even more recently. The artifacts remaining at the Smithsonian, if they could be tested, like if they would actually agree to a scientific testing study of them, then there's an opportunity there. If they could be carbon dated, if any of that soot or residue on the surfaces could be carbon dated, or even a thermoluminescence study of the pottery examples there. I mean, that could be another possible route of study that would determine their origins.
Sure, they would just have to dig a little bit deeper with the drill in order to get to some part of the pottery that was not affected by the fire.
Right, and because it tells you what the last fired event was, basically. So if these are made 2,000 years ago and then burnt in the building 100 years ago, it'll show that they're 100 years. The thermoluminescence is 100 years ago. So that's the last heated event.
Are these anywhere near the Blue Ridge Mountains?
And yeah,
is this spot?
I'll pull it up again here in just a second.
I think, I had it pulled up, bro. I think I
smack
saw
dab in the
something that it
middle of
was,
it.
because there's been a lot of paranormal activity there. like tons of Bigfoot site, or all that stuff, and you can chalk that up to what you want to. But I just find that pretty interesting that you find sites like these where there's been a lot of supernatural activity.
Well, Mount Pisgah, as I shown in the before we were live, is exactly where 5 lines cross each other, 5 telluric lines. So
That
it's,
would make-
it's a powerful place in terms of telluric energy. So
Okay. Oh yeah, I'd love to visit it, man. To be honest with you, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
and Vincent, I think it's also relevant what you showed me, that this has this apparent ability to whatever is being done inside to come outside as a ghostly speak, right? So it has these channels on the structures that come onto the surface and would allow to work as I don't know, like an oracle place, or a place where spirits spoke to those around the buildings.
right. It has a lot of power and spiritual connection there, and apparently it has for many millennia.
Exactly.
They kept on going back there and rebuilding this site over and over again. So the building had been rebuilt at least 8 times at the same spot.
8 times.
We got to build another one, dude. We got to do it.
Yeah, and I mean it's an amazing site. It's important to the history and prehistory of the world. I mean, I think just the massive quantity of figurines there, and that these were spanning the time frame from archaic all the way up to historical time frame, just shows the importance of it.
Just see if I can share the alignments of the telluric lines there. See if I can do it. I think people will find it interesting.
Yo, Headless, Greenville, North Carolina to that place is 93 miles.
Yo,
That's where I live, Greenville.
yeah,
I guess I gotta go find
Wow.
it.
you got to go find it, dude. It's a quest.
Someone said it has a Sedona, Arizona type of energy. Yeah, that's what I was picking up out of it. There's probably a portal there.
Yeah, dude. You got your frequency generator? You got to get
I don't
out
know,
there with
dude.
the frequency generator and your dowsing rods.
Oh,
Let's go.
Vincent, is this Oregon or Westmore?
The what?
Mount Pisgah.
Oh, Pisgah.
Pisgah, sorry.
Yeah, it's in Haywood County.
Okay, you have
Sounds
to tell
like
me
there's
the other
some
name
big
that you
ass.
gave me before. What was it? The Garden Center? What's the
Garden
name?
Creek. Oh, Garden Creek Archaeological Site.
What's going on here?
Yeah,
Garden.
the archaeologists pulled a fast one and changed the name from Mount Pisgah to Garden Creek Archaeological Site.
Archaeological
Jeez.
site. Archaeologic. Okay.
Well, you know,
Can't-
I thought
I have
about
it now.
this. Okay. I thought about this in a different way. What if the most early form of deep state is this sort of land claim monopoly, right? So this place shows, you know, contact with a lot of other cultures around the world. So that would start to impact America's land claim monopoly, because you've got all these different influences landing right there and being shown clearly. So by destroying that site, you're sort of destroying any sort of land claims that may have come along with that site.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Like, we know that places in near Cahokia Mounds, like the Pisgah glyph, were purposefully destroyed because they didn't want it to be a land claim. And this site in particular has a lot of sub-Saharan African connections with all the animals, like the rhino, things like that. They don't want it to be a land claim, possibly for African, Native American culture. So they destroyed it, and they basically destroyed it, put it in the drawer, and didn't want to talk about it for 150 years. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it is about manifest destiny and that ideal that Europeans showed up, no one was here, they have the right to take all the land, and it would be a good reason that they may have used it with their manifest destiny theory to just destroy it and cover it up.
Yeah, and if you know about the Society of the Cincinnati, right across from there was the Cosmos Club, and the Cosmos Club and Society of the Cincinnati came up with the Smithsonian. So before, they were excavating these sites and knowing what was inside of them and pulling out all of the treasures, and then they created the Smithsonian as sort of like locking the door behind them and making sure nobody else figures it out with whatever remaining artifacts are left.
Well, they left a bunch of them in there, about
Yes, they
2,500
did.
of them.
Just a few.
Shit, compared to what they probably have.
Yeah, it was probably like just leaving one box.
Yeah, that's like leaving a penny out of a dollar.
Vast majority of artifacts are in private collections. Don't let the museums fool you. It's all private.
Sealed in vaults,
Bingo.
I think.
Hobby Lobby's buying it.
Yep. That ain't the first time.
They have like the Sumerian tablets and Hobby Lobby.
You know, they actually had to give some of them shits back too.
They did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wish I would have caught that.
These were Dead Sea Scrolls. They had pieces
Yeah.
of the Dead Sea Scrolls in there. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. To get that as a no, man. That'd be wild.
That's why they close on Sundays. They got to take out the artifacts.
Did you know what Hobby Lobby's defense was, though? That's the part I find most revealing, is they tried to claim that they were fakes, and they knew that they were buying fakes. And so they tried to get out of paying any money or paying these back by saying that they were fakes.
Yeah, it was some wild
So
shit.
this is a common occurrence, I think. They just brand whatever's real as fakes, and then they collect it for themselves.
Right, that's what's going on here. They call it fake, so it doesn't have to fall into NAGPRA requirements or don't have to admit that it's real.
See, you brought up that word again, so it's very interesting you bring up NAGPRA, because I'm on the fence on whether it's too strict with the rules or if it's just right or too lenient, right? And you said actually like at 9 minutes when we was 9 minutes into the show about NAGPRA and how artifacts were coming up missing. Do you think is more coming up missing on, the natives are making them come up missing, or do you think that people are like how the owner or CEO of Hobby Lobby was hoarding, old artifacts and stuff like that? Like what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is, well, overall NAGPRA, I think it had good intentions, but it didn't allow study to occur to the extent it needed to, like on skulls and things that were collected. Now those are gone. And when I was in Illinois over at the Dixon Mounds, the curator said that it was basically a racket of trying to get things and get the most money out of them. NAGPRA claimed a lot of the skulls and things from Dixon Mounds, and they had been on display for about 50 years. So a lot of it, and he said this is because they wanted money. The tribes are in the NAGPRA group that was associated with the tribe. Basically, they were going after it from a financial standpoint. So unfortunately, a lot of this was lost, and it had been partially due to financial reasons. But I think there's a good reason to not destroy it. I mean, it needs to be preserved, and I wish there was more effort to study this and actually preserve it and then present it in a real scientific way. Like the fact that this site was claimed by NAGPRA from the part of it that was in North Carolina, University of North Carolina, they had 700 of these, and now they're gone. I mean, no one knows where they are, if there will ever be studied again, or if there's any in existence anymore. But you see sometimes if you search the Mount Pisgah relics, you see examples coming up for sale in auctions. So there's some that are being auctioned off, and it makes me wonder if in fact they are just selling them. These may have been the ones that were claimed, ended up in an auction, and so unfortunately, it's a loss for science and a loss for history.
Well, I would say that NAGPRA, as it was designed, if it was a matter of, okay, those are sacred or sacred imbued objects for us, right? I'm speaking now of some tribe. That doesn't mean that they are not studied. That means that we harbor them and we keep them, but we have to display them. We have to show them. We have to allow for them to be studied. Right? It's not something that we can take and just disappear with it or sell or whatever we want to do with them. But there is a darker thing in NAGPRA from my perspective, and that's the point that I hate the most. That is the fact that does not justify why, when now I'm researching any of these subjects and I go to a website and the image that is being described in the text is gone, because they considered it is part of NAGPRA and it was offensive to this or that tribe, so they take the image out. So we can no longer see what is being described. And how long until the description also be considered offensive and also disappears? And why are they taking books, images from museums, from schools? Why are they eradicating all the indigenous presence from the minds of those that are not indigenous people? Right? We are rebuilding a rift here between what our Americans are and what indigenous peoples are. How long until new generations don't know what indigenous peoples are, right? So, because they are being removed from everywhere. It's not a matter of artifacts, it's the information that is also being removed. And that's what I'm against with, mostly.
And it's all just being warehoused, I mean, that's the point. It's like, how are we honoring these cultures by warehousing them in bureaucracy? It doesn't make sense.
Sure, and even for these cultures, we should have them telling us about what it's their artifacts, it's their heirlooms, their inheritance. They should be getting information on their side about these things. They should harbor them, yes, but show them to us, show their culture, go to schools, make presentations, talk to us about their culture instead of eradicating completely from society. That's what NAGPRA is being allowed to do. So it's not a matter of the law itself. It's the matter of those that are using the law for their own purpose and agendas. Once again, right? There's no good and evil on the law. It's only on the morality of those that are using it as an excuse for their maneuvers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well said.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions? Anybody else? Okay.
Someone's been asking about what is a banner stone.
Oh yeah, I was going to go back and ask that actually.
That was me
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, maybe even for people who are listening and don't even know the beginning of the show.
I mean, I could show another picture, but banner stones were objects made in a shape of a stone with a hole in it, basically drilled through the center portion, and they're often very symmetrical. And they were thought to be put on a banner on a staff, and so it got its name banner stone from the shape of a banner on a staff. I'll try to share my screen and kind of show what it looks like. So these are the Mount Pisgah banner stones. These were all found in Haywood County, and the one here with the angle was from the Mount Pisgah cache at Valentine Museum. And
I got you.
And so they were often crescent shaped like this. There's some that are butterfly shaped, and these all have a central perforation in the middle to put on a staff. Some people say that they were used for a little counterbalance, but that there's not been a real good agreement about that in terms of use, like this one having the angle of the minimum lunar declination at midwinter. Well, that would mean that it's most likely an astronomical angle that they had this, and it was like their totem or an important calendar symbol, and they had this line on it which correlates to the minimum lunar standstill.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've seen people defending that these were used as on a pole in front of the chief's tent, for instance, as a representation of power. But the fact that they have practical functions, I think, removes some of that idea. Although I think that there are lots of banner stones, and not all of them should have the same explanation, because they could have been made for different reasons. Some for astronomical alignment, some for representations of power. So it doesn't have to be one explanation to all banner stones, but
right. And some people say they're clan symbols, like each one represented their clan or their totem. The butterfly clan.
That looks like a moon right there. It looks like a crescent moon.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, man. That's pretty interesting.
And these are there's published books about these that span back to around 1900. So if even the Valentine Museum today didn't know that this was a banner stone until I looked at it and I saw, hey guys, this is a banner stone. And they're like, what's a banner stone? They thought it was a figurine.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's cool that you were able to bring that to them.
Yeah, it's like, and one of the reasons that the Smithsonian drawed these was he said there was no known artifacts in this collection. Well, the banner stone is a known artifact shape, so it's very good evidence that, in fact, these are known artifacts. They're real and authentic, and they shouldn't have been drawn.
There's books about this thing, so they should know what they had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's funny. These otherworldly artifacts are treated with otherworldly irresponsibility across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, I thought that was so funny.
I just told this yesterday. It's like this is a real story of a motorcycle accident on a roundabout, and the guy lost his head along with the helmet because of the impact, and it was on the sidewalk. Well, sidewalk in Portuguese is passeio, and so the policeman was writing the report, and he's thinking, passeio, is it with a Z or two S's? How do I write this? And so he kicked the helmet into the road and said, okay, the helmet was on the road, because he couldn't write sidewalk because he didn't know how to write it. He didn't want to look bad on the report. So this is the same thing. Like, this artifact belongs to an area that we don't study, we don't understand. It's outside of our broader span of years. So either it doesn't exist or it's a hoax. And since it's there, it has to be a hoax, right? And it's problem solved.
Well, we got to find out about what the locals feel about this place, because I think if a lot more people in that area knew what kind of travesty has been carried out in their own neighborhood, I think they'd be a lot more pissed off and looking for answers. That's something that could happen really quickly too. Just by getting these people a little bit aware of their surroundings, we can get some movement in the right direction going on this project. You know what I mean?
So are you suggesting that the people organize and create a museum to collect most of the 2,500 pieces?
I mean, it's so blatant and obvious that once you explain it to them a little bit, they'll understand what's being taken from them.
Sure. And it's a tourist opportunity. If they recreate the site itself with the two rooms and the connection with the magnetic north linking them to, with all the pieces inside as they more or less figure it out, it could be a profitable thing too, not only cultural. So might be an incentive.
Asheville's looking for an excuse to organize and band together against the federal government. Why can't you give them this?
Vincent, there's a challenge for you.
Yeah.
A few emails to be written.
Yeah, and I'm trying to share a screen here. It's a depiction of what a good representation of what I think a banner stone was like. And this is from a birch bark scroll of the Midiwugan. So the Ojibwe had these birch bark scrolls and they engraved them. And so the banner stone represented over here is on the top of a banner or pole or staff. And it shows a lodge, and the path of the person with the arrow, he goes through the lodge and then back and circles around. So there's a book called The Sacred Scrolls of the Southern Ojibwe, and it uses a lot of these symbols of the totems, and like these look like headless ducks. I mean, hanging or sitting there, and a serpent symbol. There's a lot
That
of these.
serpent is very Egyptian.
Yeah, these are. I mean, it looks like a lot of ancient Egyptian type of symbols, and I mean, this person has the headdress on. A lot of the figurines that are similar to these Mount Pisgah figurines have that type of headdress as well. So the bow and arrow was represented, and I mean, but the banner stone is what I wanted to show here. And I mean, this is like a banner that's coming up out of the lodge at the top of the pole, and it's pointed upwards like a
Dude,
moon.
that's so cool.
Yeah. Could be a representation of the proper time to hunt because of the man with the bow up top. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's depictions of an Egyptian barge that for some reason this reminds me of because of this piece on the bottom. It actually has that. It sounds silly, but I don't know. I've seen them depict barges with that type of shapes in there. That
Well, like the little
bottom
the
and
little boat of heaven thing or whatever.
yeah,
Man. Yeah,
on the
it's like the
show.
upside down boat of yeah.
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 We
So that
talked
recently.
about that the other night.
Yeah, it was recently. Yeah, that image was on the screen, and I was like, yeah. I don't know why. I just remembered that.
Good
And-
looking
and
out.
Tyrone.
There it is right there at the bottom.
Tyrone, haven't you seen that? Haven't you seen that that ball crossed in the middle before? On the left.
Yeah, I can't remember where though.
Wait, I can't remember
wanna
either, but I think I've seen that somewhere, and it's not Pokemon. So
No, I know what you're talking about because I just can't remember where I seen that at because we actually talked about it.
This is
there's a
interesting.
lot of common symbols in here. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Again, showing the universality. Is that it?
Yeah.
Of the site. So
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of the figurines correlate with the birch bark scrolls, which were literally scrolls written on birch bark that had been collected by the European settlers when they came through the area. They found hundreds of these scrolls all through Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana, Illinois. They would find them when they drained the swamps. And as they collected these, some of them were drawn on paper, like what they were seeing that had been engraved on the birch bark. And so this is an example of that they had many different forms and shapes that relate or correlate to these figurines from Mount Pisgah.
yeah, at least two persons from on the chat live.
I was
very
going to
close
say,
to Mount
Ricardo, yeah.
Pisgah.
Yo, there's actually, I've noticed just throughout the last few months from people mentioning where they're from. There's a lot of people from North Carolina actually that listen to this on YouTube.
Yeah, they've been saying that they can see the mount from their
Yeah,
backyard
right
or
from
whatever.
their backyard. Yeah. See,
Nick,
that's-
you can start selling tickets for them to watch live.
Hey, that's why
I
I
bet they
sent.
had
That's
no
why I sent
idea.
you that link. That's exactly why I sent you that link, Nick. Because I've been noticing a lot of people from your area.
If you were to
Has been,
probably Google which state has the most like witchcraft or woo type shit like that in it, I think you'll get North Carolina. I think, and honestly, my opinion, I think it's a reaction to the Bible Belt. So
It's true.
probably. Oh, but yeah, it is. So it is. That was even not for nothing. It was one of the reasons why I even came to the state. I figured, it's kind of like a smaller version of New York, if I guess it comes to witchcraft or whatever.
And it's all centered around that Asheville area.
And yeah, and you know what's really pretty big too? Charlotte. Charlotte's really big for witch stuff.
I wonder if
Really interesting.
any of the books that I have about anomalies include North Carolina. Let me see. History by type.
I guess my state's full of Satanists.
Fluid energies.
Look at Vegas.
My state's full of swingers, dude. It's okay. Swingers and
No.
rednecks.
I have Colorado, Oklahoma, and Wyoming. This collection of books about anomalies that are very often related to sightings, be it of UFOs or cryptids or whatever. But no North Carolina.
Damn.
I have to look into it now.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about this.
Great.
Yeah, it was
That was
awesome.
Thank you for coming and talking about it.
And great to talk with you. And
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
Yeah, that was like it's just a ton and ton and tons of like evidence right there. Like all those pieces. That's crazy.
Yeah,
What
it's
pieces? They're all forgeries. What pieces, Nick?
It's like the Epstein files. They really don't even exist.
Yeah, they're not real.
Yeah. But that's, I hate to rain on people's parade, but I unfortunately, because Trump is the one tooting about the Smithsonian, I don't think that shit's going anywhere either, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But thank you so much, Vincent. Again, that was like really that was impressive stuff. I mean, do you think going forward, do you think like this might get some recognition eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so, that like maybe this will get recognition for being a true site, and the Smithsonian will issue a statement reverting their 150 years of calling it a fraud and a hoax, and hopefully they'll acknowledge the importance of the site, and maybe even the Valentine will put this material back on display and show the public the importance of it. So it's a really interesting topic. There's a lot of complexity, and I think that's why it's difficult, because there's just so much to it, so much history there. But it's a really important thing, and I'm glad for the chance to talk about it.
No, for sure. I mean, I really wish you the best of luck with this. I mean, some really impressive stuff, dude. So thank you for bringing it on this show, for real.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
No, thank you, Ricardo, for suggesting him. Very amazing stuff.
No, it's very impressive. And Vincent has done very diligent research. He put his own resources to it. We need more Vincents in
Definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap it up, Headless, let everybody know where they can find your stuff and where they can send that email in.
Thank you. This was amazing. I think this is one of those topics that spans both left and right, and a lot of people can get behind it if they just start believing in themselves and their communities again, right? So you can find me on Thursday nights. If you check out my show, I read your occult emails. You can send them to me at the headlessgiantpodcast@gmail.com, and also Sunday Trialogues, which I do with Ricardo Calvario and Ethan Indigo on Sunday morning. So check that out as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you coming on. And Jules, what is up, my man?
All right, Vince. Yeah, it was a great presentation, man. Learned a lot. I always learn a lot on this show. So Nick, I appreciate the invite once again, guys. Grayfield Pod on Twitter. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. Patreon. On Saturday mornings we do esoteric book reviews. Nick swings by. He comes along. Got a couple other guys in there with me. We go real deep on some stuff. Sunday Chaos tonight, 9:00. Don't watch if you're easily offended.
Yes.
Every Tuesday, I produce for a parapolitical call-in show called Already Dead. You can find it on my channel, as well as the Underclass Podcast and No Way Jose channel. It's at 8:30. We do a call-in kind of portion at the end of the show where you can come on and give your 2 cents about what we're talking about. A lot of cool shit. A lot of deep, kind of cults and psyops and all that good stuff that I don't really get into on the regular. So it's good to be there in the background to kind of hear about it. But we got a lot of guests coming on here in the next few weeks. I usually go live on the weekends because I work full time. So I'll just go, subscribe to my channel and just be on the lookout for any upcoming shows. I'm usually on here like 2 times a week. So
just once or twice.
You can find me on here as well. Again, thank you guys.
Of course. Oh, thank you. And for real, people go check out his Patreon for his book stuff. I mean, regardless of the fact that I was even on there, I mean, it's well done. So, if I happen to join it, which I will as long as I have that Saturday, I'll be there with him. I really had a great time. So go check out the Patreon. It's worth the few bucks that it costs, in my opinion.
Thanks, man.
Of course. And my man Tyrone, what's going on, sir?
Hey, great presentation, Vincent. I enjoyed every moment of it, man. I actually went and bought some books from Amazon based off of, what you was just sharing, because a lot of stuff that you were sharing, a lot of authors had wrote somewhat about it already, especially like when we was talking about the Moon-Eyed people. So I got me a couple of books on that. So I appreciate the knowledge that you shared today. Everything you can find on me is on my website, rebirthoftheword.com. And also my book, Journey Through the Origins of History, can be bought on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And Ricardo.
Well, I will start thanking Vincent for accepting to come and tell us all about this site. And I think it's pretty amazing and very high implications in terms of history, and shows us how much is being suppressed. And this is just a small part of it. So imagine what else can be suppressed if we can suppress 2,500 figurines as hoax. So as to plug in, is my time to turn the favor down to Tyrone, because do buy his book. I think it's excellent one. And just want to plug in the trialogues that we do on Sundays. So if you missed today's episode, go and check it out. And thank you for having me, Nick. A pleasure.
Thank you for coming on and joining us. And Vincent, please let everybody know where they can get in contact with you or find any of your stuff.
Oh, thank you again for having me. And I'll be on Twitter and talking about this site. I'll post in the chat about my contact info after this, and be happy to share that. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to share about this site and learn about it. And again, thank you all, love you all, and appreciate you.
Of course, no, thank you very much. And before we wrap it up, I do want to remind people just to check. I'm not going to go through all of them, but check the show notes or even the posts on YouTube or whatever. I've posted some stuff on social media. There is a bunch of events that we'll have a booth at, but the one I do want to remind specifically October 18th. That'll be Fort Myers, Florida, Charlie's Beyond Belief. Brooke, who's on Dark Florida podcast, is part of the Occult Rejects. She'll be speaking there, and there will be a booth there. And some of us will be there. There's another podcast that might be jumping into. I don't want to, Nephilim Death Squad actually be going to now. So, I don't want to put them on the spot now. They don't show up, and it was like, well, Nick said you guys were going, blah blah blah. But no, they hit me up, and they might be going out too. So, it'll probably be a shit show back there by the booth area then. So definitely show up. Let me plug that. And there will be a list on the bottom, again, like I said, in the show notes for the other events that will be in like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. But thank you all again. And thank you in the bottom in the chat, everybody that jumped in. That's what's up. I really appreciate it. And Vincent, you really killed it with that. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Thanks again, everybody.
Awesome. Yes. And that's it. That's the end of another Occult Rejects. Until the next one, everybody be well. Later.
Bye-bye.